All right, CBS News Justice reporter Paula Reid is in Washington. Paula, good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
I got a chance to talk to you Wednesday when this was all breaking. What happens now that the ban has been blocked for a second time?
Well, it's Groundhog Day. We're going to go through the exact same exercise we went through with the first travel ban. This is just a temporary hold. All this judge is saying is, look, some of these people believe that this law is unconstitutional. I think their case has a chance. So we're going to put a temporary hold on this policy until a final court decides whether or not this is or is not constitutional. So the question is whether or not now the Department of Justice will fight that temporary hold, whether or not they will try to convince a judge to allow them to implement this policy while these larger questions take quite a while, perhaps even a year, to work their way through the court system.
So, Paul, when you look at this judge in Hawaii and the grounds that he used, he cited President Trump's campaign rhetoric about wanting a Muslim ban as evidence for his ruling. Do you think that this could be viewed as judicial oversight, something that the president calls it?
Well, yeah, when the president is calling this judicial overreach, I think he's just venting his frustration because in his mind, he said, look, you said you had X, Y, and Z problems with the first travel ban. So we wrote a new travel ban and we addressed each one of those concerns. He's literally saying, we tailored this for you, West Coast Judicial Circuit. Why are you not happy? Now, that's not necessarily judicial overreach, but you can see why he is frustrated because this is a much more nuanced ban and it did specifically address a lot of the previous judges' concerns.
All right, Paula, you said it's going to take a lot of convincing. How will the Justice Department defend the ban moving forward?
Well, moving forward, they're going to continue to argue that this ban was crafted within the president's national security powers. They are going to say that this is not unconstitutional, that the president has the authority to put these kinds of restrictions in place. And in response to these allegations that this is a quote-unquote Muslim ban, they are going to argue that no, it is not a Muslim ban. There are lots of exceptions here. There are waivers. Millions of Muslims are still able to come into this country, even from some of the nations that this policy applies to. That has been their defense for the whole time we've been arguing about this, and that will continue to be the way they try to defend this, potentially all the way to the Supreme Court.
So, Paul, ultimately, if this makes it to the Supreme Court, how do you see this playing out?
The second travel ban has a much greater chance of surviving Supreme Court review than the first one. The first travel ban, the problem was that it was not narrow. It was just a blanket ban. It was implemented immediately. There were no case-by-case waivers. There were no exceptions for people who would help the U.S. national security. It was very hard to defend that as being not a Muslim ban. But this second ban, the way they crafted it, the language, the exceptions, the waivers, it is unclear whether or not the Supreme Court would ultimately uphold it as being constitutional, but it has a much greater chance than the first one.
Paula Reid, always breaking it down in a way we can understand. Paula, thank you so much.